First up, though, Marcus Rashford was one of England's stars at the World Cup, and he's taken that form back to Manchester United. He scored and assisted in the 3-0 win over Nottingham Forest, which saw his England teammate Luke Shaw playing at centre-back.
I think you always question yourself after a break, what will be the restart? And we play a team, especially the back four, they never played together. Also a player who was never played ever in a centre-back position. And if you then win 3, concede no goal, another clean sheet, then you are happy with the performance.
So Marcus Rashford continued his fine form. That's now 10 goals in all competitions this season for Manchester United in 21 games. It's double his tally from the whole of the last campaign, where he scored 5 in 32. Erik Ten Hag has spoken previously about United's need for a striker, but could a resurgent Rashford be the answer?
Never spoke about that I have doubt about that. And on the contra side, I think we have the 4 who play tonight together. When we can play those front 4 often together, there will be coming more routines in. When you are critical, and I am, there is room for improvement because we had to score more than 3 goals with all the chances we create, but I'm happy with creating all those chances.
Jody, let's start then with Marcus Rashford, shall we? Another great finish from him last night. How impressive is he right now?
I certainly think he's performing at a lot closer to the level that he's capable of. But I have to be honest, I think that we've watched for a couple of years of him performing at such a poor level for his quality. It's nice to see him hitting the levels that you know he's capable of, and obviously the goal return that we're seeing at the moment is a huge improvement on last season's. But at the same time, I still think there's some improvement to come from him. I think he's playing with a smile on his face again, which is always good when you see players that the smiles usually come when they're doing well. And I think if you're looking at Man United at the moment, he's certainly one of their biggest threats going forward, and it's nice to see him performing closer to the levels he's capable of. But I still believe that there's still more to come from Marcus Rashford.
Form temporary, class permanent, as the phrase goes. The role of Erik Ten Hag, it's impossible from the outside to know. We only see a player for the 90 minutes or whatever, maybe once, twice a week. They've got the rest of their lives outside of the game. And we have to take that into account, really, don't we? We don't know what's gone on with him away from the pitch. But Erik Ten Hag, how much credit should he get for nurturing him and bringing him back there?
Well, I think he has to take huge credit, because since the moment he walked through the door, he was full of praise for Rashford, even before you kind of saw the returns that Rashford was giving up. He was full of praise, and he showed confidence in selecting him in certain games as well, where we'd seen previously that you'd maybe find Marcus Rashford on the bench or not being involved. So he needs to take huge credit, but then so does Marcus himself. He knows that he's underperformed for a long spell, to be fair, and it's better that he's getting back to the qualities that we know he has. He showed it in the tournament with a couple of his goals in the World Cup. But also, I think you get that as a player. Sometimes you go through dips in form, or maybe you're not going through your best period off the pitch. But at the same time, sometimes there can be contributing factors outside of the pitch. But also regarding managers, some managers suit certain players more than others, and it certainly seems at the moment that the way in which Erik Ten Hag wants to play is suitable for Rashford, but it's also suiting Erik Ten Hag the way in which Marcus Rashford is performing. So at the moment it's working really well, but at the same time I do believe it's one of those where we need to hold fire with automatically assuming that we're getting a Marcus Rashford that is performing out of his skin. I think 10 goals in 21 games is basically what Marcus Rashford should be doing all the time. So we'll, I think, maybe get a little bit further into the season before we can start saying that Marcus Rashford is hitting certain levels that maybe we thought he was going to hit a few years ago. But at the same time, you have to say that he is performing very well at the moment, and he's looking like a pivotal performer for Man United when they're certainly on the attack.
Is the same true of Anthony Martial then? Also on the score sheet last night, and Ronaldo is gone. Is this the perfect opportunity then for him to really stake a claim there?
Well, I think that you have to be honest and say that these are probably two players that we've been saying the same things about for maybe 3 or 4 years, that you kind of feel that they're capable of so much more than what they've been offering up. But at the same time, knowing that these two have, you look at certain games over the past few years and they've taken teams apart with their ability, and when they look up for the adding the work rate to their game and maybe playing with a little bit more conviction and the intensity to their game ups, I think they're a handful for any team. But I think they both come under the same sort of category. Maybe Rashford is slightly ahead of Martial as far as this season is concerned, because obviously Rashford's been given maybe more opportunities than Martial. But I think that if you're looking to the future, these two have got to perform to the levels that they're capable of a lot more consistently than what they have done over the past 3 or 4 years.
At the back, Luke Shaw started as a centre-back. Unusual position for him. His impressive performance, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, again, a little bit similar to Chelsea. I don't think there's too much to read into them beating a Bournemouth team at home last night. I don't think there's too much to read into a Man United team that overcome a Forest team that are at the bottom of the league. I have to say, in the second half, I felt that Man United were a little bit sloppy in possession quite a lot last night, and if it wasn't for the outstanding Casemiro, they might have found themselves in a little bit more bother than they actually was. But yeah, Luke Shaw at centre-half, I have to say, surprised me. But if the manager felt that they was going to be totally on top for long spells of the game and felt that he needed someone with the pace of Luke Shaw, if they were committing so many bodies forward, then it looked like it was a decent selection from Erik Ten Hag last night. But I'm not sure it's going to be the one that you'd look to for playing against other opposition.
You ever asked to play out of position in a weird way like that? Never in goal, I shouldn't think, Jody.
Yeah, all right, mate. Yeah, five-a-side goals maybe. No, yeah, I think as players you're used to being asked to play out of position a few times in your career. I'm not so sure that Luke Shaw would have found himself in a back four at centre-half many times in his career, and especially when you've got the England centre-half that's sitting on the bench. So, listen, at the end of the day, they got the right result, and there's a reason why Erik Ten Hag chose Luke Shaw to play centre-half last night, and on the strength of the result, it looked like it worked.
Let's talk about Maguire then. We understand he'd only trained once due to illness. There's a but there, isn't it? How would he have been feeling with that selection? Does he still have a future at United?
I don't know. If I'm Harry Maguire and there's left-backs that are being chosen to play centre-half over me, I would certainly be looking at that. I think you only need to look at the amount of times that Harry has played for Erik Ten Hag to kind of lean towards the fact that maybe he doesn't have as much confidence in him as maybe previous managers has. I think if you're Harry Maguire coming off the back of such a good World Cup for in which he performed really well, I don't think you'd want to then come back to a Manchester United team and sit on the bench for the rest of the season. But at the same time, he might be one of those that is happy sitting around trying to fight for his place rather than try and look to move. Who knows? I think the proof will be in the next month or so.
Yeah, you mentioned Casemiro as well. How key is he to what Erik Ten Hag wants to do here?
I actually think he's key, not just for obviously the manager. Signing a player of his calibre and someone who's achieved as much as he has in his career is always going to be a fantastic addition to a Man United team that are, I think, been crying out for someone to play in that position in midfield to the level in which Casemiro can do. I mean, I thought he was outstanding last night, and I do think after the first couple of games that he played at Man United, I think he's found his feet quite quickly and is someone that not only performs well for himself, but I think he has an influence on plenty of players around him, whether that be the defenders that he's helping protect or whether whether it be the midfielders that he gives licence to maybe go further forward and produce further up the pitch. But I think he's been a great signing for Man United, and I only think he's going to go from strength to strength as well, because, as I said, he's only, he played 13 games now, so I think he's a great addition and one that Man United was crying out for.
In that position, he's 30. In that position, though, can you go a bit longer than, say, if you were a flying winger or a striker?
Yeah,
and
I have to say, I think that it's not like 10, 20 years ago where you'd look at 30 and think that, OK, that's now the beginning of the decline. I think the way in which footballers look after themselves now, the help which they have with nutrition and all the support that they get around looking after their bodies, I think 30 is still a healthy age, let's say, for defensive midfielder. And also, I think when we think of some defensive midfielders, we absolutely overlook what they can offer going forward. You look at their third goal last night. If you've got a midfielder that can not only break up play, but then show the calmness and ability to then pick a pass like he did for the Fred goal last night, I mean, that's a dream for any manager. And I think Casemiro is going to be hugely important for United for years to come.
Looking ahead to the transfer window, where does Ten Hag want to strengthen here?
I personally have always thought that they maybe needed strengthening in the full-back areas. I know that they strengthened at left-back in the summer, but I think maybe right-back could be a slot that you're looking at if you look at how much he used Wan-Bissaka up until the last couple of games. You'd like to think that he maybe doesn't have as much confidence in him. And is Erik Ten Hag the type of a manager that might want a little bit more from his fullbacks in an attacking aspect, especially now that you've added a bit of protection with Casemiro in front of the centre halves? I think when you look at that, then are they still looking for maybe a number 9? I know they've lost Ronaldo, and does he think Martial and Rashford are the ones that can maybe dovetail in the 9 position? We saw Rashford go a little bit more central last night when Martial was taken off. And listen, I think at the moment Man United are looking like they're better going forward, but also looking a lot more stable. Although there was periods in the second half last night, I think maybe a fullback and an attacking player.
Yeah, you didn't say. Well, the attacking player who was left side would be Gakpo, I would think, but they missed out on him. If you're a United fan, are you worried? Because United, when they came calling, players would just go there, whatever, wouldn't they? And is there a fear now that Liverpool, Manchester City maybe are above them in the pecking order? If you're a United fan, is that what you're fearful of?
I think that if you're a player that is going to be making a choice between Man United and Liverpool, I think if it's purely on football, you're going to go to Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool. I think they're a better team, and they've got a manager that's been performing at a world-class level for 5 or 6 years. So, but you then have to say that sometimes there's certain signings that you can make that may suit a team a little bit better. Listen, Gakpo, I think will play off to the left for Liverpool. Is that exactly what Man United need? I think Marcus Rashford performs well on the left. I think Martial can play on the left. I think they actually need a proper number 9, me personally, Man United. So, but I'm sure there's quite a lot of work going on behind the scenes that we don't actually know about at the moment.